Hi to Motivatum fans. I feel a little bit down and a little bit depressed, and it's for multiple reasons. The first reason is, as you may be able to tell, I've been sick this week, got a cold, had a bad cough, had a sore throat, and it's just left me demotivated. Yeah. It's just hard to see much point to life when you're feeling sick, you're not feeling well. So I've just been trying to rest and trying to eat healthily. Been playing a lot of Dark Souls, because I think, video games are really good for you when you feel sick. And another reason I've been feeling down is because I just feel like, as a social justice advocate, you put in all of this effort, you do so much work, and you just can't see things coming to fruition. There's still so much white nationalism, and so much misogyny, and transphobia, and cis-normativity. The world is still cruel and mean. Feeling down physically, and feeling down emotionally, I thought, that's it for me. I'm done. But suddenly, epic victory! We've got Thomas the Tank Engine! Thomas the Tank Engine is ours! We've taken back a piece of the culture! Finally, we're making progress! Thomas the Tank Engine has finally succumbed to social justice. I'm just gonna read verbatim this article without adding anything to it. Just gonna read it. Wow. Thomas the Tank Engine goes PC with new diverse friends, including new fat controller. Thomas the Tank Engine has made some gender-balanced and multicultural new friends following a politically correct revamp. The UN-backed new series of the animated show will be screened on Channel 5 from tomorrow, writes Paul Offord, by News Reporter. It will see much-loved locomotive Thomas leave his home in Sodor for the first time to travel the world. The revamped group of trains and his steam team now comprises 3 males and 3 females! Favorites Percy, Gordon, James, and Emily have been joined by Nia and Rebecca. Also featured will be characters from around the globe: Ashima from India, Yong Bao from China, and Shane from Australia. And the network is now co-run by a far from fat controller, Charupala. The changes proved controversial at the planning stage, but senior producer Ian McHugh said the show has undergone an evolution to remain relevant for the next generation. Thomas the Tank Engine was created 70 years ago by the Reverend Wilbert Audrey. His granddaughter, Claire Chambers, welcomed the changes, saying, "If it encourages more girls to maintain an interest, that can only be good." Yes! Finally, we have Thomas the Tank Engine! I've never felt so excited! Finally, Thomas the Tank Engine's gonna be PC! Yes! Yes, PC! Now, it's not all as good as it sounds, despite this being a humongous victory over people like Sargon of Akkad.
But it just keeps going. Beyond aesthetics, could you choose to have a different pronoun? Fucking dude! Are you really just going to sit here and answer question after question about gender ideology in a video game magazine interview about your fucking game?
Paul Joseph Watson.
Is this a sign of a backlash? A backlash to yet another form of entertainment that the far left's obsession with identity politics has almost ruined.
Ian Miles Chong.
Ubisoft, like Blizzard and several other companies, are now stepping up their anti-toxicity efforts in order to make their game more palatable to the masses. And by masses, I mean social justice warriors. Social justice warriors who complain that the game is not a safe space for them.
Who must be crying today from this massive loss in the culture war. Did they ever think that we would take Thomas the Tank Engine? It's still not perfect. Only the names Nia, Ashima, and Yong Bao sound kind of ethnic, and that's not good enough. Percy, Gordon, James, Emily, Rebecca, and Shane, and you've only got Nia, Ashima, and Yong Bao. There's a disparity there. There should be less white-sounding names. If we look here, it says Thomas the Tank Engine to become gender-balanced with more female trains, an African character, and episodes abroad in support of United Nations development goals. Alright, but what about non-binary trains? They don't have any representation here. What about trans trains? There's a bias in favor of a gender binary for trains. The original Thomas the Tank Engine was also narrated by Ringo Harrison, one of the Beatlers. Here is him posing with dead babies, but none of that appeared in the actual cartoon. There was basically no trains of color. I mean, the trains were lots of different colors, like red, green, blue, yellow, but you know what I mean, like trains of color, or tox. And in this current one, it's not much better. Even non-European trains are just white. Why should that be the norm for trains? I really care about this topic because I grew up watching This show, my favorite character was Uncle Bill, and he's not even in the new one. Fans are not gonna like that, because Uncle Bill was probably the most lovable character in this series, but we still got Thomas the Tank Engine. It's still ours. The new controller is not plus size, but is very thin, which I think is good, but could have been thinner to get more plus positivity. And I don't think she's quite brown enough, and I would have preferred that she'd been gender fluid. There's still much more that could have been done to really ruin these guys' enjoyment of life. Another aspect that I think is really positive is that they have desexualized the trains. Because in the original Thomas, it was pretty risque and suggestive. The trains were rather promiscuous and their designs were very suggestive. I found it difficult to watch, and I definitely wouldn't recommend anybody show the original to their children. That's just an early sex education that you don't want them having. The show often left me flustered and confused. There's a lot fewer rounded edges, which I thought were a lot more sexual back in the day. This will make it a lot harder for anti-social justice people, anti-feminists and stuff to masturbate to the cartoon.
That's a man. That is She-Ra's body. That is a She-Ra action figure. And that is what we have now. Sadness.
Desexualizing the 13-year-old She-Ra was one of our greatest victories, you know, taking the 80s cartoon and making it unmasturbatable. They've definitely gone in from the angle here, and they've made it a lot harder for fat fetishists to get off. And we're finally getting communism creeping into Thomas the Tank Engine. The original Thomas was far too capitalistic, the fat controller, it was all just capitalism, capitalism, capitalism.
As he sped along, he suddenly saw a large China in the road. He braked hard, but it was too late. Ball it. Now I've got a big action. If I wank my penis, I'm sure to come in my trousers, and that would never do. Just then, he heard car. I have to attend my wife's birthday party, and I can't be late. Please give me a lift.
Fuck off.
Friedrich Hayek and the Austrian School of Economics, all of that was just running clear through the original Thomas, but we're finally getting communism into these childhood cartoons. We can see with the character of Yong Bao from China. Now they just got to change the color of Thomas to red and turn him Russian. But we're going to have to keep a close eye on it and hope that they've got a lot of messages about mass migration. Hopefully getting as many immigrant trains into these different places, or taking them from those countries and bringing them into the UK, just completely changing the face of it. They need to get a train in a burqa, just because. I don't know why. It's important to me. Sorry that I couldn't have something more substantial. I just wanted to celebrate this victory. You might be thinking we're not making any progress, but bit by bit, we will replace every white train or male or cis person just for some godforsaken reason. Why not? That's social justice. Let's do it. Stalin. Yes.